Well, it's time now for business with Yuka Roya. Hello there, Yuka.
Hello, Julia.
So shops and other non-essential services are bracing themselves for another month of revenue loss as a third lockdown in Paris and 15 other departments get underway from midnight tonight.
That's right. Well, Julia, a fresh lockdown obviously will add to the economic toll of COVID-19 here in France. But this time, the very definition of essential appears to be somewhat different. Unlike during the previous lockdowns, bookshops, music stores, chocolate shops and hairdressers will be able to remain open. Real estate agents can also take customers to visit properties up for sale, and car dealers will also be able to receive clients on appointment. Charlie James has more.
French businesses brace for yet another month of lost revenue. In 16 departments, shops deemed non-essential have been ordered to close. That includes clothing retailers, nail salons, and toy sellers, among others. For some, it was a shock.
Les magasins, les entrepreneurs, les petites entreprises sont à l'épuisement après plus d'un an de gilets jaunes, les grèves, le confinement, 3 confinements pour certains départements, c'est beaucoup.
France's finance ministry says 59,000 businesses will be forced to close in the Paris region, 110,000 nationwide. That's on top of the 70,000 already shut down for health reasons, such as restaurants and gyms. To help businesses from going under, the French government is adding an additional 1.2 billion euros in economic aid to its monthly tab during this lockdown. And a few categories of shops have been spared. Unlike the first lockdown, hair salons, booksellers, and music stores will be allowed to operate if they follow a particular sanitary protocol.
Le téléphone n'a pas arrêté de sonner ce matin pour savoir si effectivement c'était confirmé. Et oui, voilà, c'est confirmé, les salons de coiffure sont ouverts.
Finance Minister Bruno Le Maire estimates this third lockdown will subtract 4 billion euros from the country's total economic output this year. Still, the government is holding on to its ambitious growth target at 6% for 2021.
That was Charlie James reporting there. The US Federal Reserve has told American banks that capital requirements that were loosened during the pandemic will be restored at the end of the month. The easing of the regulation was introduced in the early days of the COVID crisis to help banks deal with a sudden surge in loans. There were expectations, however, that the measure would be extended beyond the initial deadline, and the Fed's decision not to do so has raised concern that some banks may become more reluctant now to lend money. With that, let's take a look at the market. And Wall Street ended the week on a mixed note. Financial shares slid following that latest announcement from the Fed. Meanwhile, technology and energy shares rose, lifting the Nasdaq up. The S&P lost ground towards the end of trading, as you can see there. Japan's Prime Minister has ordered a review of the government's use of popular messaging app Line following the revelation that a Chinese contractor had access to personal data of the app's users for years. First launched in the wake of the tsunami disaster 10 years ago, Line has become extremely popular in Japan with around 85 million active users, twice the number of Twitter users in the country. Many government agencies now use the social media platform for providing administrative services as well as for recruitment. Line says that it has already barred the Chinese firm from accessing the data of users in Japan. Meanwhile, Facebook says it's working to develop an Instagram app for kids under 13 in the United States. Under the current rules, children are not allowed to use the app due to federal privacy regulations. The social media giant this week announced a slew of new measures to keep teenagers safe on Instagram. Facebook already launched a for kids version of its Messenger app back in 2017 with parental control features. Critics say, though, that it's better to keep children off social media altogether. And finally from me, it's World Sleep Day today, a day to remind people of the importance of slumber. In China, more than 300 million people suffer from a sleep disorder, according to a recent report. And that's helping the so-called sleep economy, services offering things like sleeping pods and nap centers, see exponential growth. The report says that the market is expected to hit 52 billion euros this year and reach 150 billion euros by 2030. Let's hear from the manager of a sleeping pod shop called the Floating Bar.
Floating is an experience similar to returning to the mother's womb, which will help shut off all your feelings from noise. People just stay with their breath.
It would be nice to have one of these sleeping pods here.
Definitely. Happy World Sleep Day to you, Yuka, and hopefully we
Same
can
to you.
celebrate that at some
Let's
point.
go to bed early.
Exactly.